Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to this Sunday's edition of Inside West Virginia Politics. As promised, we're going to hear from a Democrat as we wrapped up the legislative session late Saturday night. Corey Palumbo, senator from Kanawha County, also the minority whip. Boy, I'm still tired. I'm still tired from the 60-day session, especially the past the midnight hour on Saturday. For you, what were the highlights and the disappointments?
I think the highlight probably was Senate Bill 1, the Community Technical College Bill. I think it has the real potential to increase our workforce and get more people moving and working in a positive direction.
How does it work, essentially? I know we in the press often call it free tuition. That's kind of a misnomer. It's better known as last dollar in. So how do the students qualify this, and where does the state step in and give that final aid?
Well, and that's right. I think they have to go through all of the financial aid opportunities that are out there, and once they get through the end of all that, then the state will provide the rest for them.
Yeah, so folks apply for Pell Grants and other scholarships and things, and that's why we call it last dollar in. If there's maybe a $1,000 gap there, the state will fill that in. We've seen some benefits in this in other states, have we not?
Absolutely, and I think that hopefully we'll see those here too. You know, we're one of the lowest, if not the lowest, state in workforce participation rate, so this is something that's really focused on improving that.
And you know, not everyone needs to go or is really ready to go for a 4-year college degree. Sometimes these community and technical colleges lead to great jobs. I mean, nursing, for example.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of jobs out there that CTCs will help provide the skills for sure.
All right, let's talk about some disappointments in the session. Obviously, education reform did not get through. The pay raises did not get through. Of course, we have an upcoming special session to deal with those issues.
Well, I think the education stuff was just unfortunate that it was handled the way it was. I mean, I think if the Senate leadership would have spent a little bit of time working with their Democrat colleagues or with the governor or listening to teachers, we wouldn't be in the mess of not having a bill and having to spend money on a special session. We could have worked together and come up with a comprehensive package to move the state forward.
We had this thing, it was called an omnibus bill. Basically, I always refer to it as potluck. You know, you throw everything into the soup. And was that a mistake to try and tie charter schools to pay raises, to school counselors, to math bonuses?
I mean, I think there was a little bit too much to swallow in one bill. I mean, I think a lot of the concepts in the bill were good. And I think that, you know, even if they would have worked together with other folks on this, you know, you could have done it in the way that they wanted to. But again, I mean, the Senate leadership decided to handle this, you know, themselves basically, didn't work with the governor's office, didn't work with Democrat colleagues, didn't work with teachers, and forced this through, and it blew up in their face.
Let's talk about some of the other controversial items that happened. We had a very serious consideration of a campus carry bill where students and professors and, you know, staff at college campuses could legally carry arms on campus. That eventually failed in the Senate committee. What were your thoughts on campus carry, and do you think it's going to come back, and do you have concerns about it?
I do have concerns about it. I think it's a bad idea. I think when all of the Senate presidents, you know, are uniformly opposed to it, you know, I've heard from a lot of students and faculty that were against it, and certainly there's some people who were for it too, but I generally think it was a bad idea. I think that what it would likely do, if it didn't cause any, you know, serious harm to people, is it would lead to fewer people going to college in West Virginia. I think it would send more of our kids out of state who were fearful of it. I think it would result in fewer out-of-state kids coming to West Virginia colleges. So I think ultimately, there's no question it would reduce, I think, the enrollment in our colleges.
I want to circle back to the education issue because obviously we're going to have a special session coming up. By the way, when do you think we should have a session? Sooner, or should some time pass for public input before we all come back to session?
I certainly think some time should pass to allow for some public input. The question is, will we listen to the public input? You know, I think we need to go out there and listen to school teachers, school administrators, parents, and sort of get consensus on what's the best way to move the state forward educationally.
What do you hear most often from your constituents and from school folks about what needs to be done to fix education in this state?
Well, it's complicated. I mean, honestly, I think the biggest problem in education is more of a societal factor. I mean, you've got more and more kids in school who don't have a parent or parents who value education and push their kids in education. So if you have kids that don't care about what they're doing at school, then it's much more difficult to reach them and have them achieve what they can achieve.
How important is it we fix broadband in the state and get internet access for school kids? I mean, it seems to be that's almost the oxygen of the education system nowadays.
Absolutely. It's so much more critical than it was a few years ago, and I think we are making strides in that. Certainly the legislature over the past few years has passed bills to try to improve that.
All right. We want to thank Senator Corey Palumbo, Democrat, Kanawha County, also the Minority Whip, the #2 leader on the Democratic side in the state Senate. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks.
We'll talk again as the special session gets underway, whenever it is.
Whenever.
Date to be announced. All right. More of Inside West Virginia Politics, including more of our education discussion after this break.